Welcome, Poultry Nerds. Today we're going to talk about egg selection.
I'm excited. I couldn't help it. I'm sorry.
But first, we're going to answer a question that we have been emailed to. We're going to answer an email that was sent to us to answer the question. Did I say that right?
Fan mail question.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like on our last episode, someone had asked me a bunch of questions, and we were like, "Hey, let's start doing that."
Yeah.
And
Help a
crazy
whole bunch of
thing,
people.
like people actually listened to the podcast and started sending us questions.
Yep.
So let's have it.
This week's question was about rooster crows. And she lives in a neighborhood. But her neighbors seem to be complaining a little bit about the rooster crowing and wanted to know if we had any ideas on how to quiet them down a little bit to keep her neighbors happy because she didn't want to give up her chickens. Now, I answered the email. I know you did not. So you give your answer, and then I am going to tell you what I told her.
Well, I mean, so first thing that comes to my mind is your neighbors suck. Get some new ones.
That's why we get along so well.
You know, and I understand. I really do. But living in a neighborhood, if your roosters were crowing in the middle of the night, I could see that. But to me, roosters making noise in the morning time or in the afternoon is no different than kids playing. I mean, kids are yelling and screaming and acting obnoxious. Roosters are yelling and screaming and acting obnoxious. Dogs horse playing, doing crazy stuff. I read in the neighborhood, one of the neighborhood pages near where I live, this lady was pretty much irate because her neighbor's dog dropped a deuce in her yard. And I'm like, I being the nice guy that I said I said, well, have you tried talking to the neighbor? Well, it's not my responsibility to tell people blah, 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 blah. Well, you actually do live in the country, and your neighbor might not think free fertilizer drives you nuts. So, sometimes just talk to people. But in this case, if getting a new neighbors isn't an option, take them some eggs, bake them a cake, just be nice to them every now and then, and it should probably all work out.
So I emailed her back last night, and my reply was, can you have roosters? Like legally with the codes and stuff. Now, I do not know the answer to that question in this particular scenario, but assuming that the answer is yes, then her happiness with her birds is no less important than their neighbor's happiness getting what they want.
That is true.
Right? So if the neighbor's dog was outside barking, would you go over there and say, hey, your dog is obnoxious and I hate it? Would you shut it up? No.
Or would you call animal control?
People think that that's okay with a rooster. I also suggested maybe some shrubbery because soft things could absorb some sound, maybe.
Yeah.
A water feature. Drown it out.
Yeah. Drown out some of it.
I also suggested getting guineas for the summer. So by the fall, they would be okay with just the rooster growing.
I mean, if they got some guineas and then the neighbors like really did go nuts and they're like, well, you know what? That's fine. They've ate all the bugs out of our yard. We'll get rid of them. Can we keep little roosters? They're little roosters. They're cute.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, yeah, they don't make nowhere near the noise them things do. So,
yeah,
it's an indirect win-win.
And then I do know there are such a thing as rooster callers. I do not have any firsthand knowledge with them. I did do a little reading on them, and they're just basically a little collar that you put tight enough that it doesn't allow the rooster to extend his neck as far. And that is, he can't get the projection of the noise out. Um, it said, yeah, maybe
Man,
works,
to
maybe
me,
doesn't.
it's like low level choking the
Yeah,
animal.
yeah, exactly.
And, you know, I wouldn't do that. I would be more likely to take them to the vet and have their vocal cords severed.
I
I
also
mean,
suggested bringing them inside at night and covering them like a parakeet.
yeah, but night time's not usually when they do it.
Well, I know, but they would still be in the morning that way.
True. Put them in the garage.
Mm-hmm. But assuming it was legal, um, I, I mean, I can be a little saucy. I would probably move them closer to the neighbors, but that's just me.
Well, it's really nice to take chickens to fresh grass. So you could take them over there right next to your neighbors and leave them over there for a few days, and then move them away, and then they're like, "Don't okay, I can deal with this. It's not as bad as them being right there." And then they may be like, if we don't say anything, they'll leave them on the other side of the yard.
Mm-hmm. But in the whole scheme of things, just being like realistic here, the world is getting more crowded. If you bought a piece of land that you are allowed to have birds on, then enjoy your birds.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that is not, the neighbors bought there also because they had the freedom to do what they wanted to do. So don't
Yeah.
be feeling bad because you're doing what you want to do. I mean, if this HOA trend continues, I mean, they're going to tell us what color cars we can have, And at some point, people have to put their foot down. But we're getting on my soapbox. I'm going to leave it alone. I do live out in way far in the country, and there's no restrictions out here. So, but I mean, I've tangled with my neighbors here a little bit, just because
We
they
have a
want.
restriction in the county I live in.
Yeah, I know
You,
you can have
you're
birds here.
you're for them to hook up electricity to your house, it must be more than 999 square feet.
That's it.
Apparently, Jefferson County hates tiny houses.
I think most do. We don't have them here either. All right, you ready to talk about egg selection?
And I'm always ready to talk about egg selection
All right,
because
so
it,
this is
it depends on so much. But again, I would say that the egg selection, it's got to start with goals, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, you have to start somewhere. So when we talk about this egg selection, now the pictures I used are actually pictures from my birds. So if you're raising Polish or Silkies or something that lay little dainty eggs, obviously the weights are going to be different. And honestly, the weights on my Orpingtons would be different than the weights that I used here, because the chickens I used are breast eggs and the slides. But you've got to start somewhere. So if you're just starting out, well, you're going to incubate everything because you need them all to get started. But as you start refining your birds, you want to select for egg selection also.
Yeah, you do.
And so this is assuming that you are to that point and you're refining your birds.
Well, so like for a bird, let's say a large fowl, your Rhode Island Reds, your American Breasts, you want to be at a large size egg because that's what they're supposed to weigh according to the standard. So, you're going to want to incubate. Me, I don't I don't incubate anything less than 56, 57 grams up to 65-ish. Now, I will say that's not a hard set rule because for science, I have done things. And one of the ones that I did recently that was actually a lot drastically different than what I thought it would be. But if you have like a silky and that bird calls for a small sized egg, then you're going to want something in that 42, 43, 44, somewhere in that gram range. And I'm guessing an Orpington that weighs 10 pounds is going to be like 65, 70-ish gram.
No, actually, they are smaller than the breast eggs.
They lay the eggs that small?
They're going to be in the 55 to 60 range when I set them.
They'll be like a regular large fowl.
So my breasts, I set between 60 and 70. I don't set anything smaller than 60. And if my trays are full, I'll pull the 60s out and leave. Then it becomes 61.
And the funny thing about that is a lot of people are like, oh, those are double yolkers if they're 70s or whatever. No, I mean, you've been doing this for a little while and I've had them for a little while, and bigger eggs get bigger birds, and that's how you grow your genetics.
And you have to know your birds. You have to know your line. And I can almost, I would say 99% of the time, quail, breast, Orpington, duck, turkey, I can hold it and tell you if it's a double yoker or not. Because I know my birds. Mm-hmm. I can't go to the neighbors across the street and pick up their birds. I would not know if those were double yolkers or not because I don't know those eggs. I don't know what they lay.
Yeah, I mean, I can pick up some quail eggs and be like, which pen did this come out of? No, that's the ones I'm still working on. This one definitely ain't a double yoker. And then, then I'll find a double yoker and I get really frustrated because then I have to take all the hens out and see if they're repeat offenders or if it was an accident.
All right, let's get moving on this because I got a lot of slides.
Lots.
Okay, so this is my little cocaine gram scale. I broke the lid off of it. So just for reference, the little blue pieces of tape are just stuck to the thing so the egg can't roll. But it's all teared out. And the picture I can see the weight on the scale, but just because I know it's a little bit harder to read, I went ahead and wrote it on the top of each slide.
And you can see it pretty good.
Okay, good. I was sitting on the couch. It was kind of dark and it was like almost 10 o'clock last night when I was doing it. So this one is got a pretty good shape. It's got a good weight because I like mine between 60 and 70. It's clean. So it was laid in a clean nest box and it has a nice, firm, smooth shell. So I would set this one. Would you?
Yes.
Yes.
Like I don't see anything wrong with that egg. I like how it's very symmetrical. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have any calcium bumps on it. None of that weird stuff. Yeah, that one's going in the incubator for sure.
Yep. Okay. This one is like a little golf ball. And it's filthy.
I was going to say that one, if it's going in the incubator, it depends on how recently it's been cleaned.
Okay, so
sometimes incubators can get kind of rough. And if my incubator's like, I need to clean it this time or at the end of next time, I might.
So I don't set filthy eggs. And I also don't wash eggs. So yeah, all these pictures are straight out of the nest boxes. Okay. So this one's only 41 grams. This is a
kind of bird
breakfast
is that?
egg. These are all breasts.
Oh yeah, that one's getting 8. I ain't even thought. Like if that was a game fowl, I would think about it, but I can't.
It's too small.
Mm.
Okay, so we're back in the 62 range. We've got a decent shape. It's okay clean. Not getting too concerned. And the weight's good. So I would set this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a no-brainer. So this one's it's right on the line with weight. So the reason why I took a picture of this egg is when you look at it, it looks like a big egg,
Mm-hmm.
but it's only 60 grams. So to me, there's something off with it. Why is it so light if it's such a large egg?
That makes sense.
There's something off with it. So it does have a little bit of a weird shape. If you kind of look to the right, it's kind of got a hump out to the right also.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yep.
And it's a little pointy on the
It's like it's a
bottom.
little. It's almost like a little bulge on the side. Like
Yeah.
I think when that egg was coming out and being formed, it didn't know which way it wanted to be formed.
My guess is that the shell is probably a little on the thinner side. And so when it was wet, when it was first laid, it might have taken on a weird shape maybe or something. I don't know. But I would not set this egg. Would you?
Mm-mm. No, it looks funny.
All right, this one's just too filthy. This one is just a breakfast egg. I mean, I wouldn't go any further. Like if I was just doing my daily chores, I would stop at that point. This one would just go in the breakfast basket. So here for me, we eat the dirty eggs and I set the clean eggs that meet the criteria. That's how we do it. But as far as weight is concerned, it's fine and the shape is fine. But just because it's dirty, I would bring it in the house for breakfast. You?
So for me, to be honest, it depends on how many eggs I got.
Yeah.
Because if I've already got some breakfast eggs that are going in the house and that son of a gun is in there, that might get tossed in the woods.
Really? It's pretty dirty.
Yeah.
But I have another one in here. You'll know when we get to it. So I have one breast group. I don't know if she goes traipsing through the mud before she gets in the nest box or what. But I always know that these dirty eggs come from that group.
Like, why do they do that?
I don't know. I mean, this one's on the smaller side. It's dirty. Looks like a golf ball. So this is an easy no for me.
Like, I don't some chickens I just don't understand.
I don't either. This one, I wouldn't set it because it doesn't have a proper egg shape. You can kind of see it's almost triangular at the bottom, and then it looks normal at the top. But if you notice, it's got some straw or something stuck to it. So that makes me think that maybe another egg had broken and it got sticky and stuff started sticking to it. And you don't want to set those kind of eggs either.
No, you don't.
Yeah. No. This is a good egg.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's not the prettiest, but the shape on it is exactly what an egg should look like. The size is a good size. I mean, yeah, it's dirty, but it also could have flooded rain yesterday. That's not covered in poop.
This just picked up something somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to the last one. I would still set it. And no, I wouldn't wash it. I would set it just like this.
Yeah, I don't wash eggs. Um, some people do, and I don't. That's one of those things that I really don't understand is why you would want to do that because they're going to be exposed to germs at some point in their life.
Yep. All right. So this egg is just big. It's 72 grams. It's too big. I have noticed that in my bird, that when I get the eggs are too big, they generally aren't fertilized. So they're not going to hatch anyway. They're just eggs.
Mm-hmm.
This particular one, it does have like a blunt end at the end. It's kind of misshapen. If you see the shadow there at the bottom, it's kind of got some, I don't know, indentions or shoulders or something going on down there. So this is a no. This would just come in the house to be eaten. It's a good egg for eating. It's big.
Yeah,
Do you set big eggs?
not that big.
Yeah, it's too big.
Because to me, it more often than not, when they're that huge, like you said, they're not fertile. It's also getting to where there's slightly a chance that it could be a double yolker or not. So I just don't do it.
Now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, I don't know that I have seen a double yolker in my breasts. Oh, I'm gonna have to pay
Well,
more attention.
I would know that the ones that you have now, where they came from, and you should not.
All right, this is the epitome of perfect egg to set. 67 grams. It's clean. It's got plenty of room for that chick to move around in, that nice wide body there. You definitely know where the blunt end and the pointy end is. To me, this is a fantastic egg to set.
Yep.
I wish they all looked like this.
Yeah, that is true.
Okay, so this one is borderline. I went ahead and gave it a green check mark just because I would set it. How if I needed it, like to finish off the tray, but it would be like the last one to go in. That torpedo shape, I don't feel like it gives the chick enough room to like move around because the chick has to turn itself around to zip. And I don't feel like this one would allow enough room for it.
Right.
But it is clean enough. The weight is on point. It just is a little narrow to me. Are you shocked I gave this one a red X? You'd set that one, wouldn't you?
Mm,
Really?
no, because I don't like the texture on it.
Hmm.
And down at the bottom, it's not a smooth, like,
It's got point.
yeah. I
Yeah.
don't like that. And it's barely over 60. And if you got if you have a lot of better options, that one's not getting set. Now,
Right.
again, that goes back to what I was talking about goals. Because if your goal is to feed some kind of reptile, then see if it'll hatch. If your goal is to have a breeding flock, then I'd eat that one.
Okay, so you bring up a good point. So when I set the quail eggs, I will go through and I will set everything I want to set in order to hatch. All the projects, the good size eggs, the things that I could keep for breeders later, everything that's worthy of being set. And then once that's done, any trays that I have left, I'll just go through and fill. And with eggs that would hatch, but are definitely not double yolkers or too tiny. And I'll actually
I mean,
write
you don't want
on
empty room in there.
right. I'll actually write on the tape freeze. I mean, I already know I don't want to keep these birds just because of the eggs.
Yeah, I actually have some in my incubator right now that I wrote freeze on the tray. And there was one tray that I wrote freeze accept. And that's because it had a lot of big eggs. I'm really curious what they are.
Well,
So they'll still get frozen, but I want to see what they are first.
so what you
Because like
can
normally if
do,
I'm gonna freeze them all, my chamber that I have, my whole hatching basket will fit in. So I just put the whole thing in there. But that I want to see what those are because again, I already know the correlation in the egg size with chickens, but I don't think it's the same way with quail. And I'm looking for proof.
now we're doing this as the first selection point, for breeders going forward. The second time you could do it would be moving them to the hatching basket. You could move the ones that you definitely love, like some of those eggs were perfect. And then the ones like the torpedo-y shaped one, you might put in a secondary basket and separate the hatches that way. And so then you can look at the chicks after they hatch and go, you know what? I'm getting all these nice wide heads from these nice wide eggs, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting narrow heads from these eggs. And don't take those words, to the mountain here. I don't know myself. Is there a correlation between wide heads and a wide egg? I have no idea. You'd have to look at your line
No,
and
there's not.
see if there's a correlation.
Well, I would say this in my breast and in my reds, no, there's not a correlation between head size and wide egg
Okay.
because some of the reds that I set were on the like they weren't pullet eggs, but they were like towards the lower end of that range that I would normally set on a red. And, but the eggs were like perfectly shaped. The coloring was perfect. They look great. And then when chick pops out, I start looking at heads and I don't see eyeballs. And they're not like the egg from before that was 6 inches wide.
You could also check for vigor too. Did the chicks hatch easier in these nice wide eggs and have a harder time in the torpedo eggs? There's lots of data that you can collect on your bird, your line, and see. I mean, it's not hard to separate an egg in a hatching basket.
Uh,
Just to gather the data and know, okay, from now on, I'm not going to set these little golf balls because, they don't hatch, and then you would know going forward. Okay. This one, right on the line, literally 60 grams is my minimum, but this one is round. It does look kind of like a golf ball. So I wouldn't set it. This would be out for me.
yeah, that's a golf ball egg. I need some kind of point because I understand that we're looking for the round part to have the big air cell on top,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. It's like I want somewhere for them to be able to put their feet and push out. I don't know why, but I'm not a huge fan of rounded eggs like that.
So,
Again, if you're in a situation where you're very limited with what you have and you're trying to build a flock, like if you started with a trio or something like that, then I would say hatch everything you can
mm-hmm.
and cull from the results because you don't know yet what your results will be.
Right.
Like for our breasts, this right here would not give us the desired chick that we wanted. And we know that. But for somebody else's line, it might. I mean, I know a guy that lives down the road that swears that he has the best line and has told me that I was lying on my birds. And I told him, I was like, all right, buddy. Cause he didn't believe that the ones I had did what I said they did. And so I actually gave the guy 5 eggs and a 10-pound bag of chick starter. I said, hatch these suckers out and call me when they're like 6 weeks old. And I want you to hatch out 5 of yours. And I want you to feed them all that 10-pound bag of feed. It was like, but if they have the same feed, it'll be the same. I said, call me when they're 6 weeks old and let's talk. Now he's talking about culling his whole flock.
It takes time to get to this point. So now on the flip side, some of these eggs you don't want to ship out. I wouldn't ever ship out a dirty egg or a torpedo egg or any of that kind of stuff. So that is just etiquette as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's don't be a jerk.
Yeah. All right. So now that's all the breast eggs. So now we got some slides for some quail eggs. So these are just standard quail eggs. Now, both of these would be okay, but those are my birds. Now, I know that the top one is from my farrow line because they lay really large eggs. And the bottom one could be like from my Egyptian or my fees or something. And I know that it's a normal size egg for them. So, but if I handed that to you and you did not know my birds, you might think that I handed you a single yoker and a double yoker.
Somebody would definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But when I looked at those, I was like, well, that's a pharaoh and that's a fee. Because I know that your fees, they look like they're about this big, but when they hatch out, it's like, how did that fit in there?
I know. I don't get that. The fees are
The
some of the biggest
popcorn.
birds.
The easiest way to explain quail is popcorn.
Yep. Okay. So these are celadons. Now, people say that celadons are harder to hatch. That is not a true statement if you select eggs correctly. So what I think is happening is people are just trying to set all of their celadon eggs and not go through this process, and then they think that they're harder to hatch because these eggs that I have in this picture are not going to hatch.
Well, I mean, that egg on the bottom, that son of a gun's got a hole in the side. It's cracked all the way around. I mean, it looks like one of your pigs tried to eat it, and you're like, no, don't hatch.
So I did that on purpose, just so I would remember it. But the egg looked normal laying in the egg rollout tray. The shell was so thin that when I picked it up, I could put my finger in it.
Yeah. But again, I think that is, in my opinion, I agree with you 100%. That's why people think that the celadons are so hard to hatch, because a lot of people charge like $50 per egg, and they don't have a lot of them themselves, so it may take you a hot minute to get it, and you're so excited to get these 12 eggs, and you do your best. You're going to incubate whatever you get, and then when they start laying, you're going to incubate whatever you can get. And it's like, and again, you have to start with where you can start with. But as soon as you get, like, if I was starting with the line, as soon as I got, say, 100 birds, then once I had 100 birds that was anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks old, I'm really going to sit there and spend probably half a day looking at them. And getting them to convince me, why am I going to keep feeding you?
Mm-hmm.
And, because then, you got 100 birds. So if you go through and you find something wrong with all but 10 of them, well, then you have 10 amazing birds. And it's not as long as they're not all roosters, you got something that you can then build a great flock off of. And, with quail, I mean, crap, they fully mature. They start laying eggs 6, 7 weeks, fully mature 8, 9 weeks. You're ready. You can hatch out, like, in theory, 5 generations in a year.
Mm-hmm.
But
All right, so the top one is kind of golf ballish looking, but it has a little indentation in it, like I'm not gonna say a peck hole, but definitely some kind of a hole going on. And then the middle one, that one's just a hot mess. I mean, that looks like I don't
and that
know.
thing looked like it was already in the oven when it came out of the pan.
Kind of like an egghead.
Like that's where Watto is.
I will say this: when you have all those spots down on one end, even if it was a perfectly shaped head, I mean egg, then all those spots, speckles, you don't want them all like collected on one end of the egg. That's not good either.
Mm-mm. You want them to be like that egg right there, the one with the green
Yep.
check.
There you go. That's the perfect celadon egg. You have an egg shape. You have a nice firm shell. It's shiny. It's good weight. I mean, that's the perfect egg right there.
And I know you're doing this under LED lights and you're taking this picture
Yeah.
because I know from seeing your celadon eggs outside, they are blue.
So, fun fact, people have been asking me why I have gotten out of celadons. I can't see the blue. And I mean, some people know that. Rebecca at Thieving Otter Farm is actually the one that figured out that I couldn't see the blue because I was standing in her barn and I was like, "Where are your celadons?" And she's like, "Right there, literally right there at your
Stop
spot."
running you.
And I was like, I don't see them."
I thought they were
And
supposed to be blue.
yeah, and so she walked over and she's like, "They're right here, like literally right here." And I was like, "Oh, I thought those were a white egg project." So they all look white to me. And so she like took a whole handful and put them up against a white, post office box. And
And
she's
you're
like, "What
still
about
like,
now?" And I was like, "Now they look great." So we went outside and I mean, we went all over the place, all over her yard, and I can't see the blue. So all these eggs look white to me, and it really does just take the fun out of trying to breed for a blue egg when you can't see it. So that's part of the reason. So if you have been happy with the blue eggs, you can thank my grandson because he's the one that selected the bluest of the blue when I was setting up the breeders. And then David, of course, has helped me select for blue eggs. But yeah, it's a kind of a frustrating part of breeding celadons when you can't actually see them.
I
The
think they're cool
second
looking.
reason is I have a new project and I only have so much time in the day and so much space. So they had to go. So there they go.
You conquered that project,
I
got
did.
bored with it. You're like, you know what? Screw it. I can't even see them anyway.
Exactly.
Let me work on something else.
Exactly. And that may be why I did I always aired to the ones without speckles. And that may have something to do with it. Maybe the speckles made it look more gray to me, which they kind of did. I mean, every great once in a while one would lay like a robin's egg blue, and I could see that. But just your normal celadon blue, no, I can't see it. All right, so obviously we talked about the one on the left. That's a good egg. The ones to the right, if you want to just go left to right. So that one is more torpedo shaped, not a good egg. The second one has a blue band around it, not a good egg. The third one is dull. It doesn't have a shiny finish to it, not a good egg. And the last one is a double yolker because I know my line and I know how big of an egg they lay, and that is double yolker in my birds.
Did you cut it open and scramble it?
No, they probably got thrown out for the dogs. Actually, my barn cats have decided that they like to eat eggs, so I just drop them and they eat them.
So a buddy of mine that listens to the podcast, he said he sends me this picture Sunday, which it was on Easter Sunday. And he said, for the first time in my life, I've ate deviled quail eggs, and they're amazing. I said, I mean, I told you the eggs were good.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to my son about them, and he was like, Dad, I'm going to have to eat like 5 eggs. Why do I want quail? And I said, let me send you a picture. So I went and got a picture of a chicken egg, and I went and got a picture of a quail egg, and another quail egg, and I took that. I was like, 2 quail eggs, 1 chicken egg, boom. He said, oh, so it only takes like 2. I thought they were a lot smaller. I said, yeah, no.
Some people's.
Some people's, but not mine.
All right, so these are actually supposed to be regular. These are not celadon eggs. So
those are also somebody with OCD's worst nightmare to look at and select.
Oh, really? Okay, so the one on the
because they're different size. They're torpedo shaped. One's got a hole in it. Like, yeah, no.
There's one that's there. It's okay.
Yeah, the one you put the green check on.
Okay, so the second one, the whitish one, that is what I call an unfinished egg. They lay it without putting the spots on it, and it kind of might have some smear marks on it. I don't set those. Could they hatch? Yes. I have not separated them long enough to see if the chicks are healthy when they come out of them. But, I mean, if you ordered quail eggs and I sent you white eggs with smears on them, would you be happy? No. So why would I set those and like perpetuate that if it's a genetic marker? It's just not worth the risk, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, like that would be one that if I had a bunch, if I had those eggs, the one with the green check is going over here in a red basket, and all the others would go in blue baskets because I put my breeders in red trays and my feeders in blue to keep them.
Well, 2 of those are double yolkers. The torpedo one, I don't know if it would be or not, but yeah. I mean,
It's 2 torpedo.
It's 2 torpedo?
Yeah, I mean, and that could be something that would be genetic. And again, when you ship somebody, when people pay you money for hatching eggs, they want eggs that look like they're supposed to look and are like they are supposed to be, and they're not supposed to be torpedo shaped. So, that's why, like I said, this would be a nightmare, because if I had a group of 25 that was giving me this, then I'm going to have to, okay, let me grab my empty stack and bring it up here, because I keep a stack empty just for crap like this. And, you separate them heifers out and you find out who the guilty party is.
Ah, that was it. That was all our slides.
See, I thought it was 20.
There, you did good.
Yeah, I mean, you did a great job putting together all the examples.
Yes, I took these pictures. I have to admit, I did take these pictures a while back, and people knew that I took the pictures because I said I was gonna explain egg selection. And I mean, it's busy season, so time got away from me.
Yeah, but to me, it's important because if you're selling hatching eggs, then your name is your reputation.
Hmm.
So be selective with what you stick in the foam or however you choose to package. I like quail foam from eggfoam.com, but you get it wherever you want to get it. Um, but however you package, select quality because you're charging people for quality. And if somebody says, "Hey, look, I want some eggs for my kid to throw in the incubator to see what happens," then okay, fine. Just I would personally, I would just give that person whatever. I would not take their money for that. But, that's back in the day when your handshake was all you had, that's all you had. And nowadays, your name is all you have. So I feel like you should strive to send people quality. So that's why we wanted to talk a lot about egg selection because we have seen, I'm trying to think of a word that's appropriate for all ages, but ridiculous will explain it enough. Number of egg things on social media lately. And so,
Yeah, I would like to make the statement that we do have the Incubation Masterclass Facebook group now.
mhm.
If you're not part of that, go join that. But when people say that they had a bad hatch, and they try to blame it on the incubator, I mean, yes, it's possible it could be the incubator's fault. But to really diagnose the problem, you have to go back and look at the big picture. And egg selection is one piece of that puzzle. Did you set all pullet eggs? Did you set all golf balls? We have to have that information in order to move forward diagnosing the issue. So that's why I encourage everybody to join incubationmasterclass.com, because then you get the full picture. You can understand the whole thing, because if you understand the whole thing, then your hatch rate will have to go up. And I don't care if you use an old styrofoam incubator, because if everything else is correct, it really doesn't matter. I think that I could hatch quail in my mailbox in August. And one of these days I may try it.
No.
Yeah,
Okay, so you probably could in Tennessee.
yeah.
I would poach them in Alabama. But so in the incubation masterclass, some of the research that we did involved buying a stupid amount of incubators. But people tend to do that for science. But we talk about ways that you can have a decent hatch with a $25 incubator. And we talk about ways that you can have a good hatch with a $2,500 incubator. Because we know that, like, we designed the class for everybody, but it's for somebody that don't know jack, we want you to be successful, and there are ways that you can do a $25 incubator and still get a decent hatch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's tricks that you can use to make it work. So yeah, I
Alrighty.
mean, check it out.
Well, I got nothing else on this subject today.
That's it. We're
That's
done
right.
talking about egg selection. Maybe next time we can talk about what laid the egg.
Maybe.
Maybe we could answer the question, what comes first, the chicken or the